guys? A long time no see, kind of. So, we're back in the Bronco. This is kind of impromptu and brief, but I think that's just how my style of video is. I have just been way too tired to do anything after work. So tired. So I've wanted to film. I've had several ideas, and I've wanted to film quite a bit, but I just have not gotten to, because I would wait for everyone else to go to bed, and then I'd be like, I'm going to bed too. So, and they aren't really ones that could be filmed like in the car. But those times will come. So I thought today we'd just do a little impromptu kind of reading in the Bronco video. Again, these are the nails. I did them myself. We're not looking at this one. We're not looking at that one. That one's okay. That one, or that one. We're looking at this, and this. I did them myself. They are gel extensions, but I don't know. This one started out good. Like, this is the best one yet. This little pale pink. It's from the brand Olive and June. And if I think about it, I'll add that to the description, the name of the color. But they're gel extensions, so they're plastic extensions that you then put nail polish on, and I usually use gel, but I decided to use a regular polish today because I really liked the color. That kind of purplish sheen is from a mini Macaron bottle, and the sticker, I think I got it like in the store or something. I top coated it all with a gel because it just makes them hard. It makes them very indestructible. But it's not working out in my favor very well. So the first round I did of these, some of them turned out great. So the others, I guess I put too much paint on, or I just did not wait long enough. And so the first round, even though it had a hard coat on top, the top slid right off. The whole paint slid right off. So I had to get creative the next day, because it was late when I was doing that. The next day, I tried again, took off the paint, tried again, and then it became, you can kind of see it on this one from the side, that like bumpy texture. It doesn't show very well on camera, but there, you can kind of see that like rough and bumpy texture, and it's because versus like this one, which is nice and smooth. I think what had happened was the paint was still too wet. I think I put too many layers on, was the biggest issue. And then I did the mini Macaron, like opalescent kind of color on top. And then I did a regular top coat, and that top coat, because as it hardens, it kind of shrinks a little. It shrunk that wet paint, and it just made it look so odd. It's like, this is like the worst one. There's literally a slice in it from where I have my floss wrapped around my finger. It's atrocious. So I do need to fix them, but for right now, it is what it is. I didn't have it in me to fix them a third day in a row. But let's get on with it, shall we? So I have this in my car. This is a map I got from the National Park Foundation, and it has all of the national parks in the U.S. And I love my national park stuff. So on this side, it has abbreviations. So the IHS, International Historic Site, NB, National Battlefield, NBP, National Battlefield Park, National Battlefield Site, National Historic Park, National Historic Park and Preserve, National Historic Reserve, National Historic Site, National Lakeshore, National Monument and Preserve, National Military Park, National Memorial, National Park Park and Preserve, River, Recreation Area, Recreational River, River and Recreation Area, Reserve, Seashore, Scenic River and Riverway, Scenic Trail, Parkway, Scenic and Recreational River, Wild River, to Wild and Scenic River. The National Park Service does a lot. They take care of all of these, whether it's staffing or maintenance or anything like that. So, I'm a donor to the National Park Foundation, so that is of course where I got this, and I keep it in my car just because it's a good reference, but it's also just a good map of the U.S. It's a decent map of the U.S. It's not like, it doesn't show like the roads or anything, but it's good for reference. I guess we'll find out in post if that sounds good or not. So let me zoom out a little bit here. And that's still not far enough. Cool. So we'll move it around, I guess. I guess we'll keep some of it folded in. You can see through the backside there's those dots, and that is because on the other side some information on the National Park Foundation, and we have a best time to visit our parks guide. So of course the dark red, or almost brown, is like the highest visiting time and when they have the lowest visiting time, and they have it for the main national parks, and they go all 12 months of the year. I don't think I can get it low enough, but okay, Arcadia's the top one, so that's fine. Or sorry, Acadia. So Acadia, that's January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So it doesn't get too busy there. It's moderately busy in the summer. And I can see people wanting to go in October because of just how beautiful the Northeast is. We have Acadia, Badlands, which I've been to. I need to go back. We just kind of drove through it. We have Big Bend, Biscayne, C&O Canal, the Chattahoochee River, Congaree National Park, Cuyahoga Valley, Glen Canyon, the Great Smoky Mountains, which is one of my favorites. It's one I've been going to since I was a baby. I know how to pronounce this. Haleakala? I think it's Haleakala. That is, of course, in Hawaii. Katmai, which is in Alaska. North Cascades, Oregon Pipe Cactus, Pictured Rocks, Point Reyes, San Juan, Sequoia and Kings Canyon, Shenandoah and Yellowstone. So those are like the most popular of the parks, and even then, like, as you can see, some of them just not super busy at all. Now if you go to, like, you know, Great Smoky Mountains, January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, because everyone wants to see the fall foliage and the bears, November, December. I've gone, I think, almost every month of the year. I think I've been to the Smokies in every month of the year. And then in Yellowstone, we went in July. And back then it wasn't that bad, but this is recent statistics. That was probably almost 10 years ago we went. I think it was 2016. This is 2025, so 9 years ago we went. And the national parks have gotten a lot more popular since I had visited there. So Shenandoah, I wish had more visitors, but yeah, of course there you go in October with the fall foliage. It's just a little reference for you. You can Google this. This stuff is everywhere. They'll even have it broken down for more or for just the parks, things like that. So let's look back at the map. So let's fold this half over. And let's start over here. There's of course a lot more going on in the east than there is in the west. Out west you'll see bigger parks, but few and far between. And I'm just kind of saying parks as like a catch-all for the entire national park system. So all the way up in the tippy top here in Maine, we have Katahdin Woods and Waters National Monument. And the Appalachian North-South Trail begins or ends there, depending on if you're going down or going up. St. Croix Islands, and there's Acadia. That is the furthest east national park, and it's that island grouping in there. It's just beautiful. That's up in Maine. We have New Hampshire has a National Historic Park, Vermont a National Historic Park, Marsh Billings Rockefeller, most likely having to do with the same guy Rockefeller Center is named after. And they also have the North Country, North-South Trail, which I think is on the Appalachian Trail. So that's what this green line is. It goes all the way down to here, which is the Appalachian Trail, which is in northern Georgia is where it ends. And I have seen the end of it. It's very interesting. I've not been to the northernmost part, but I have been to the southernmost part. I've not hiked it. I don't think I ever will, personally. Maybe things will change, but I don't think I ever will. And there's all kinds of stuff. Like up here, we even have just in the Boston area, the New York City area, the Philadelphia area, Baltimore area, Washington, D.C. area, and of course in Maryland and also in Virginia. So because there's just so much specifically historic in these areas. Excuse me, I hope you didn't pick up that noise. We got Massachusetts, which they have quite a bit there, as well as of course more down this list. Rhode Island, I think has one. Looks like that's right on the edge. Roger Williams National Memorial. Connecticut, got quite a bit here. New York, quite a bit in New York. Women's Rights National Historic Park, Harriet Tubman National Historic Park, Theodore Roosevelt Inaugural National Historic Park, Eleanor Roosevelt's National Historic Park, home of Franklin D. Roosevelt National Historic Park. There's a lot going on in New York, plus just all the stuff in the New York City area as well. And Statue of Liberty there, Stonewall. And I'm trying to think, in his birthplace of Theodore Roosevelt. I'm trying to think here in New York City. Got Fire Island, Sagamore Hill. I'm trying to think where. It doesn't look like they have listed, unless it's under a different name, but the One World Trade is handled by the National Park Service, but I'm not entirely sure if it goes under One World Trade or something different. But then you have in Pennsylvania here a lot going on as well. Delaware Water Gap National Recreation Area, Allegheny Portage Railroad National Historic Site, Flight 93 National Memorial. I have been there as well. One of these days I'll fix that. I have been to Flight 93. That was an impressive place. Harper's Ferry down here at that apex of like West Virginia, Maryland. Yes, Maryland. To make sure I wasn't saying the wrong thing. Because I said that was Massachusetts. I might have said that was Maryland, but that is Massachusetts. Maryland, New Jersey. There's a little bit going on in New Jersey up here. Not to be confused with what bleeds into New York. We have Harriet Tubman Underground Railroad National Historic Park. Not to be confused with her National Historic Park. There's all kinds of stuff. George Washington's birthplace, which is in Virginia. Fredericksburg is in County Battlefield Memorial National Memorial Park. The Booker T. Washington National Memorial, Petersburg, Eisenhower, Gettysburg. I've been there. Been to Gettysburg. I've also been to the oh no, this is it. Gettysburg National Memorial, National Military Park. Sorry, I just saw Great Egg Harbor, and that's all I could lock onto was Great Egg. But Gettysburg, that was crazy. That was very crazy. We did not go to the Eisenhower National Historic Site, but we did go to, and we spent days at Gettysburg. Virginia, which comes all the way out here. The Appalachian Trail comes through that. Shenandoah's right here. Got New River Gorge, which I went to New River Gorge when we were going from Kentucky here to DC, and we stopped in New River Gorge before it was a part of the national park system. It was just a bridge, but it was really neat, and I still have plenty of pictures from there. So yeah, I think it was just like a state ran kind of thing, but that is in West Virginia here. And then of course we follow Blue Ridge Parkway. So that is, the Appalachian Trail comes out this way, and it's right there. This is the Blue Ridge Parkway, which I want to drive so badly. Out here we have on the far end of North Carolina, we have the Wright Brothers National Memorial, Fort Raleigh, Cape Hatteras, Cape Lookout. Apparently in Philadelphia, we also have the Edgar Allan Poe National Historic Site. I do forget that he lived here. I always think I think he came from England. I'm not sure. I don't remember much about him. That is, of course, in North Carolina, which is pretty much partially bisected by the Appalachian Trail. Here's Great Smoky Mountains National Park, my favorite. Got the Manhattan Project, the Cumberland Gap. I have been to that. I've been to Abraham Lincoln's birthplace. I've, of course, been to Mammoth Cave. I am, a fan of geology. Some of you might know. Big South Fork. I almost got a job there. I got interviewed and everything, and I never heard back again. I was so disappointed. But this is Tennessee, and that is where the Smoky Mountains are in North Carolina and Tennessee. Chickamauga and Chattanooga National Military Parks, just right down here in Upper Georgia. We've got Ohio, Cuyahoga Valley, which I do want to get to. It would be a bit of a drive from central Kentucky, but I think it'd be worth it. I've been to, Cleveland and Detroit and everything, so it wouldn't be. I'm vaguely familiar with the drive. Got Perry's Victory and International Peace Memorial, the First Ladies National Historic Site, Dayton Aviation Heritage, and Charles Young Buffalo Soldiers, William Howard Taft National Historic Park. I was just in Cincinnati last week and I did not know that was up there. Let's go south before we go north again. So in Georgia, we have the end of the Appalachian Trail, or the beginning, depending on if you're going north or south. We have the 96 National Historic Site and Congaree National Park in South Carolina. There's a Fort Sumter and Fort Moultrie Reconstruction Era National Historic Park. That's probably very interesting. Fort Pulaski, which is right on that end of the Savannah River, which is the dividing line for South Carolina and Georgia. We have Little River Canyon, which is in Alabama. We have Russell Cave National Memorial, which is just in the north of Alabama. The Chattahoochee River National Recreation Area, Martin Luther King Jr.'s National Historic Park is up here right in Atlanta, in Georgia. We have the Ocmulgee Mounds and the Jimmy Carter National Historic Park, which that is definitely on the list to go visit. The Freedom Riders, Civil Rights, and Horseshoe Bend, Tuskegee Institute and Tuskegee Airmen National Historic Sites. Down here we have all kinds of stuff down in Florida. We have an ecological and historic preserve, Castillo de San Marcos, Matanzas, Canaveral National Seashore. Got DeSoto National Memorial, which is south of St. Petersburg. I've been all over that area. Not so much Tampa, but right down in here. St. Petersburg, Anna Maria Island, and stuff. We have Big Cypress National Preserve, Biscayne National Park, Dry Tortugas National Park, down off of, pretty far off of Key West, actually, I think. Like, you have to take a boat to get out there. And then, of course, the Everglades National Park, which is one of the biggest in this, like, entire eastern half of the country. Biggest national parks. In Michigan, we have Sleeping Bear Dunes National Lakeshore and Pictured Rocks National Lakeshore. Up here, really close to Canada, we have Isle Royale National Park, one of the least visited national parks, by the way, only reachable by boat or plane, but very wild. The Apostle Islands National Lakeshore, the Ice Age, what's NST? National Scenic Trail, which is very interesting. And then, of course, as we get further down, when we go back to Indiana, we have Indiana Dunes National Park, which, like I said, I'm here. I'm in this state. I want to go all the way up there, and you can by getting onto I-65, 65, which runs, I know it runs through Louisville, like this, because it connects to Nashville, and it just bypasses Mammoth Cave. And then it runs from Louisville all the way up to Indianapolis, and I think all the way up to Lansing, if I'm not mistaken. That or it goes this way to Chicago, but I think it goes to Lansing. I might be wrong though. But regardless, you would take 65, I think pretty much all the way up and then get there. And that is beautiful in Lake Michigan. I have touched all 5 Great Lakes, but not from this area. Up here. We were up in Michigan. Down south in Indiana, we have Lincoln's Boyhood Home National Memorial, George Rogers Clark National Historic Park, Illinois, which is the state I'm from. We have the Gateway Arch. We have the New Philadelphia National Historic Site, Lincoln's home, because that is where he spent his adulthood. I'm so sorry for shaking you. The Springfield 1908 Race Riot National Memorial. That is a very recent addition to the National Park Service, but I definitely want to go there. That history is probably just devastating, but just, I'm very interested to see, like, the visitor center and the information that they have available. The National Park Service is usually really good with that, but, you know, I still want to see. Emmett Till and Mamie Till Moakley National Memorial. That's another one I really want to see. And of course, Pullman National Historic Park. You can see the dots coming through from the chart on the other side. So let's shift over a little bit, shall we? And then we'll work south again. So we kind of covered all this. Up at the very top of Minnesota, we have Voyagers and Grand Portage. We have St. Croix National Scenic Reserve. Sorry, National Scenic River. That's what it was. Ice Age National Scenic Trail. So I guess that's where they connect. They're just not really showing me. I guess they go somewhere like that. The I was reading Minneapolis, Mississippi. That's kind of where it basically ends or begins, depending how you look at it, I guess. The effigy mounds. Herbert Hoover in Iowa. Down in Missouri, we have Gateway Arch, which is just right there on the river with Illinois. Ulysses S. Grant National Historic Park. You got me there. I know that's Genevieve, but I'm not entirely sure about that one. Ozark, National Scenic River. I love the Ozarks. I also spent a long time living north of Kansas City, so I have a lot of memories from there. Wilson's Creek, George Washington Carver, Harry S. Truman, Pea Ridge. This lake here is Table Rock Lake, if I'm not mistaken. That is what I've basically spent my life on every summer when we lived in Kansas. It's about a 3-hour drive from where we were north of Kansas City to here, but man, so worth that. Buffalo National River, Fort Smith, Hot Springs National Park in Arkansas, Little Rock Central High School Historic Site, Arkansas Post, and President William Jefferson Clinton, birthplace home, Poverty Point, and Cane River Creole National Historic Park in Louisiana, as well as Jean Lafitte National Historic Park and Preserve, and the New Orleans Jazz National Historic Park. We have the Gulf Islands National Seashore, which goes from this part in Florida all the way to this part here in Mississippi. Also in Mississippi, we have Bryce's Crossroads, Tupelo, Natchez Trace, Emmett Till, and Mammy Till Mobley National Memorial. I'm now a little confused, but I'm gonna let it slide because I don't think they printed it twice in the wrong place on the map. Up in Tennessee, because we didn't quite go over the western side, we have Fort Donaldson and Shiloh. I'm going to hold this over on this side now, and then bring this one out. This has gone on a lot longer than I thought it would, but man, once you get me on national parks, I don't stop. Tippy Top in North Dakota, we have the Fort Union Trading Post, Theodore Roosevelt, North Country, and the Knife River Indian Villages. Interesting, and they must be stacked on top of each other. I don't remember if I said Pipestone in Minnesota, the Minuteman Missile NHS, Badlands National Park. Like I said, I've driven through that before when we were heading from Missouri. No, we were heading from Kentucky. We came from Kentucky, we went through St. Louis because we stayed overnight with family, or at least part of the day, and then we stayed overnight in the city I spent time in, north of Kansas City, and then we went north. We went through Omaha, and then we went to South Dakota, and we went through the Badlands. We also have Mount Rushmore, which I've been to several times, Jewel Cave I have not been to but went to, and Wind Cave National Park. Down in Nebraska, we have the Missouri NRR and the Nebraska NSR. We have the Agate Fossil Beds, which I do want to check out too, and Scotts Bluff and Homestead National Historic Park. In Kansas, we have Nicodemus National Historic Park, Fort Larned, Tallgrass Prairie, Brown versus Board of Education National Historic Park in Topeka, and Fort Scott. Oklahoma, we have the Washita Battlefield. We have Chickasaw National Recreation Area. And then we get to Texas. A lot going on in Texas, as per usual. Waco Mammoth National Monument, Big Thicket National Preserve, San Antonio Missions National Historic Park, the Padre Islands National Seashore and Palo Alto Battlefield, Lyndon B. Johnson, Amistad, I don't know if I'm pronouncing some of these correctly, Alabates Flint Quarries, that sounds interesting, Lake Meredith, NRA, across the Canadian River is what that is called. And I can now fold that in as well. Over here on the western side, things get cranking again. We have Guadalupe Mountains, Chamizal National Memorial, El Paso. We have Fort Davis, Blackwell School, the Rio Grande, and Big Bend National Park, which is beautiful. And of course, that all borders Mexico. Beautiful country. Going back up to the top here, we have Montana. Little Bighorn Battlefield, Bighorn Canyon NRA, which is this area. Further west, we have Big Hole, Grant Coors Ranch, and Glacier National Park, which is actually on the border with Canada. Part of it continues into Canada, if you did not know. Beneath and partially into Montana, we have Yellowstone National Park. That also goes slightly into Idaho. John D. Rockefeller Jr. Memorial Parkway runs through here, and right there connecting to Yellowstone is Grand Teton National Park. Those two changed my life, and if you ever get the chance to go, you need to go. We have Devil's Tower, which I've also seen, and if you've not seen it, highly recommend it. It was breathtaking, just walking around the base of it. Breathtaking. It is sacred to the indigenous people there, so I recommend not climbing it, even though I know the temptation is strong. But it was so humbling. And Fort Laramine down here, north of Cheyenne, but on the North Platte River. We have, in Colorado, quite a bit going on here. Dinosaur National Monument, which also goes into Utah. Rocky Mountain National Park, which after we left Yellowstone and Grand Teton, we came through Rocky Mountain, and that was breathtaking. Fluorescent fossil beds, Black Canyon of the Gunnison National Park, highly underrated national park, might I add. Kirkanti, Sand Creek Massacre National Historic Park, Bensold Fort, Great Sand Dunes, Amachi, Mesa Verde National Park, Yucca House, Hovenweep, and then down here in New Mexico, we have some very interesting stuff here, like Aztec Ruins National Monument, Chaco Culture National Historic Park, Valles Caldera, which Caldera is like the remnants of a volcano, which is what Yellowstone is built on, is the caldera. Got the Manhattan Project, Fort Union, Pecos Petroglyph National Monument, which is very fascinating. Have not gone, but it is definitely very high up on the list. We have Capulin Volcano. We have El Moro, and we have El Mapis National Memorial, which is actually quite large. Salinas Pueblo Missions, Gila Cliff Dwellings, and White Sands National Park, and Carlsbad Caverns. And we go a little further west here. And let's go into Idaho. We have Nas Pierce National Historic Park, Craters of the Moon, which I really want to go to so badly. Hangerman Fossil Beds, Minidoka, City of Rocks, Golden Spike, Tempangos Cave, anything that has a cave in it I'm interested in. Arches National Park, another good one. Canyonlands National Park, Capitol Reef National Park, everything's like connected in here. Glen Canyon National Recreation Area, Natural Bridges. Hub and Weeps kind of looks like it's on like the border, but it might be more in Utah than I thought it was in Colorado. Rainbow Bridge National Monument is there. Bryce Canyon National Park, Zion National Park, and Cedar Breaks National Monument. Then we get down into Arizona, which also has got a lot going on. Navajo National Monument, Canyon de Chelly, Hubble Trading Post, Sunset Crater Volcano, Walnut Canyon, Petrified Forest National Park, Opatiki National Memorial, Tusagut National Memorial, Montezuma Castle National Memorial, Hohokam Pima, Organ Pipe Cactus National Monument, which is pretty big down there on the border with Mexico, Saguaro National Park, Fort Bowie, Chiricahua, maybe, Temacacori, Coronado, and finally our last 4 states. So starting at the top again, we've got a lot going on in Washington. We've got the North Cascades National Park, which is this whole area. Ross Lake NRA, Lake Chelan, Ebby's Landing, San Juan Islands, Olympic National Park here, Mount Rainier National Park, Fort Vancouver, the Manhattan Project again, so there must be a couple of them. White Man Mission. We have in Oregon, Lewis and Clark National Historic Park, which I have followed the Lewis and Clark Trail somewhat before, over in Missouri. John Day Fossil Beds, Crater Lake National Park, which I really want to go to because, like, look at that. That's crazy. Oregon Caves. And then we get to California, which has just got so much going on in it. Redwood, the Lava Beds, Tule Lake, Whiskey Town, Shasta Trinity, Lassen Volcanic National Park. And there's Lake Tahoe over here, which is not part of the Park Service, but it's just a reference point. Got Point Reyes, Muir Woods, Rosie the Riveter, World War II, Port Chicago Naval Magazine, John Muir National Historic Site, Eugene O'Neill National Historic Site, Fort Point and NHS, Golden Gate, San Francisco Maritime, Yosemite National Park, Devil's Post Pile, which that's another crazy looking one, Kings Canyon and Sequoias National Parks, Manzanar, Pinnacles, and Death Valley National Park, which also bleeds into Nevada a little bit, with Great Basin and Tool Springs Fossil Beds, as well as, of course, part of the Lake Mead NRA. Mountains National Monument over here, and this is the Mojave National Preserve. There's Lake Mead, which encompasses Nevada and Arizona, Santa Monica Mountains, the Channel Islands, Cabrillo, and Joshua Tree National Park. If you're familiar with the U2 album Joshua Tree, you've seen a Joshua Tree, but still breathtaking park. Then down here we have a picture of Alaska, which is mostly national park. We have Gates of the Arctic, Noatak, Kobuka Valley, Cape Crescent-Stern, the Bering Land Bridge, which that's so cool to me. And there's the Bering Strait. I want to go to the very end so bad and look out towards Russia, because that is where everyone's ancestors, well, the indigenous ancestors, of course, came across. This is where humans began to populate, and the New World, and it's just fascinating. You have Yukon Charlie Rivers, which I think does come into Canada. They might cut it off at the border, but I might be wrong. We have Denali National Park. It will always be known as Denali, thank you very much. It was before, and it will forever be. Lake Clark, Kenai Fjords, Katmai, Alagnik. I'm not even gonna try that, I'm so sorry. But there's on the Aleutian Islands, and Wrangell St. Elias, Glacier Bay, Sitka, and Klondike. And we also have a picture of Hawaii, which is Hawaii Volcanoes National Park, Pu'uhonua, Ohanohana. I probably should have looked these up. But we have 1, 2, 3 National Historic Parks and 1 National Historic Seashore site. There is our Haleakala National Park, Kalaupapa, and there's Pearl Harbor. Of course, that's in English, so of course I know that. I just don't want to butcher any of these because that just seems so rude. And Honolulu, which is near Honolulu, on the island of Oahu. And that is, of course, the Hawaiian Islands. So, this video's gone on way longer than I thought it would. I will see you all soon. I hope you have a nice day, evening, night,